Gotcha.
And I'm
Yeah,
going
is there a
to
way to
do that
So loud.
because it shouldn't record.
I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we're going to have people trickling in, but that's all good. My name is Lisa Kelly. I'm president of Mental Health Awareness of Michiana, or MHAM. We're delighted to welcome you to our inaugural Mental Health Summit. MHAM's mission includes working to improve access to mental health care in Michiana. A year ago, our advocacy committee, chaired by Kelly Brian and Amanda Rhodes, I'm not sure if either of them are in the room right now, launched a survey asking the community to describe barriers they've experienced accessing mental health care and to ask what programs, initiatives, and people they knew were working to improve access to mental health care in our community. The results gave us some unsurprising news about significant barriers and frustrations people experience trying to access care for themselves or a loved one. We learned that there's a lot of good work happening in the community around access to care, but there seemed to be a gap with what is available and what the community at large is familiar with or has access or knows how to access. We extended an invitation to the survey respondents to join a planning committee, which began meeting this spring to talk about follow-up steps to the survey. The committee came up with two ideas. One was to do a navigating the mental health system class that would educate the general public about the ins and outs of accessing our complicated and strained mental health system. The class was co-written by 4 members of the planning committee and has been presented at public libraries in both St. Joseph and Elkhart counties this fall and can continue to be presented if anyone requests it. The other idea was putting on this summit. The goal for today's summit is to educate and to celebrate a wide array of important community initiatives that are improving access to mental health care in Michiana. We are highlighting self-healing communities because, like MHAM, it is a path that encourages collaboration with the belief that we can be more effective and more effectively improve community health and well-being when we work together. There are 25 programs here today that we want to celebrate. We couldn't have all 25 participate on panels, so please visit the tables in the ballroom to learn about them. We have a short video playing in the ballroom of 12 of the programs, and those videos will be available afterwards on our YouTube channel, as well as a recording of the summit. I want to thank our planning committee, and I'm going to read their names if they're here, wave or stand up. A lot of them are actually helping out in the lobby. Jen Burke-Lefevre, Reagan Manier, Felicia Howell, Becky Zukowski, Robin Vita, Carl Hetler, Mary Fran Brandenberger, Rebecca Go, Kristen Tawadros, Takesha Jacobs, Taylor Nicoletti, Amanda Rhodes, and Kelly Brian. Thank you for your help with planning this event. The event is stronger because of the collaboration of the planning committee and the programs and people who are participating today. I also want to extend a special thanks to our sponsors, Oak Lawn, THK Law, Anthem, Shaw Center for Children and Families, Indiana Tech, SitePoint, and Crumlish & Crumlish Architects. Please refer to your programs for the location of the various panels. Most of today's events will be in this room. The adult initiatives panel will be on the 2nd floor, so you have to go back toward the entrance and take the elevator stairs up to the 2nd floor to the Buter Kernan room. We'll have somebody who can help direct you. We'll take short breaks between the presentations, so please wander through the ballroom for refreshments and visit the resource tables. We hope you enjoy the summit, and we would ask that you, when you're later on today, fill out the evaluation, and we have a QR code that gives you access to that on your program. Okay, so for our keynote today, we have two well-known leaders in Michiana, Kimberly Reeves and Velshonna Luckey, who will speak this morning about self-healing communities. So we are very appreciative that you're both here. Kimberly Reeves was raised in South Bend. She has been with Beacon Health System since 2012, starting as an intern. As the Director of Community Impact, she is now head of the department overseeing health outreach efforts for Community Hospital of Bremen, Elkhart General, and Memorial Hospital in South Bend. And later this year, Three Rivers Health in St. Joseph, Michigan. She ensures, alongside her colleagues, that there are effective, equitable, and sustainable models and processes in place to prevent disease and promote health in communities. She manages collaborative work with nonprofit organizations who are committed to improving health outcomes throughout the region. Kimberly received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Holy Cross College, Notre Dame, and a Master of Public Affairs, Healthcare Administration from IUSB. She also earned a green belt in Lean Six Sigma. I don't know what that is, but it sounds very intimidating. She currently serves on the board of directors for Oaklawn, which is the designated community mental health center, and United Way of St. Joseph County. Kimberly was recognized for Michiana 40 Under 40 class of 2019 for her leadership both at work and in the community. She also received a leadership award in 2020 from the city of South Bend. She and her husband, Steve, have 3 wonderful daughters. She is excited about the opportunity to do meaningful work across the Michiana region. So welcome, Kimberly. Velshonna Luckey is a native of Detroit, Michigan. In 2002, she moved to South Bend, Indiana, where she began working for the TRIO Upward Bound program at Notre Dame. In 2006, Velshonna joined the University of Notre Dame's Robinson Community Learning Center. She quickly became known for her loving yet no-nonsense approach to helping families dream big while believing their dedication and hard work would help bring them great success. Velshonna graduated from Central Michigan University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. In 2009, she earned a Master of Science in Management from Indiana Wesleyan University and a certification in nonprofit executive leadership from the University of Notre Dame. Velshonna is a recipient of the Indiana Torchbearer Award from the Indiana Commission for Women. She is also an Executive Journey Fellow, which is funded by the Lilly Endowment. Fellows are awarded individual renewal scholarships and are supported by fellow youth workers around the state of Indiana. In 2019, Velshonna started Pendulum Consulting, which focuses on executive coaching of underrepresented professionals and assisting organizations serving youth and their families. Velshonna is the Director of Engagement of Self-Healing Communities of Greater Michiana Movement, a fiscally sponsored nonprofit. Velshonna is also the founder of a retreat business, Living in the Rest. So welcome, Velshonna.
Good morning. I had to take my time on those steps. Wanted to make sure that I did not give you a different show. It is such a pleasure to be here. Velshonna and I would like to thank MHAM as well as Lisa for having us in the planning committee. It is a pleasure. It is also one of the things that we want to do is also thank each of you for being here today. You did not have to be here on a Friday morning, but you chose to be here. We're grateful for you. And you'll understand as we go through our presentation why we are so honored that you're here today, because it does take all of us, as Lisa has mentioned in her opening remarks about collaboration and partnership. So I have the pleasure of sharing with you some history about self-healing communities and how we arrived here. Back in 2012, we started to have conversations. And admittedly, I think it was even prior to my time with Beacon, where System of Care, at the time they were known as St. Joe County Cares, was having conversations about adverse childhood experiences. And we happen to have some representation on that committee from Beacon. And they started talking about what we could do differently in our communities to address that need. And it just so happened that in 2012, Beacon Health System did a needs assessment, and we identified that ACEs again was prevalent in our own community here in St. Joe County. And so we decided that we had to do something along with this committee. And it was helpful that because it was part of our community health needs assessment that is mandatory for non-for-profit hospitals, that we have to invest and make a difference, we call it community benefit. It was helpful that Beacon could sponsor what we called ACE interface, or our ACEs awareness training. And so several individuals from the community at that time, I believe it was about 25 individuals, signed up from across different sectors. We had government involved, we had school corporations, we had social service agencies, all participating. We had Oaklawn, we had health systems, we had the county health department. It was a phenomenal movement even at that time to make sure that we could start to educate the community on what adverse childhood experiences were and how they were impactful. And so as we began to penetrate the community and share this information, we had one question to come up, and that was, well, what's next? You gave us all of this information. And so we feel equipped to be able to have dialogue, but we're not certain what we do with it. What tools do we have to be effective? What supporting programs are out there to address ACEs that are coming up? And so at that point, Beacon again began to have conversations with Dr. and Laura Porter, bringing ACE Interface. They were the ones to do that for us. And he was the author, the principal investigator of the ACE study, I should have mentioned. But we called him back and we said, hey, Dr. and Laura, we are now being asked what next? What do you have for us? And Laura Porter said, I have something that I think would be helpful. We've been working on a project in Washington, and we're calling it self-healing communities. And we think that it would be beneficial to you. And so she came and met us at IUSB. And then again, we had a group of organizations there present to learn about self-healing communities. And she talked about all of these different indicators that they were looking at, from graduation rates to teen pregnancy, to violence, to depression and anxiety. And over 2 decades, they began to see changes. They began to see positive outcomes in this area because she was able to start a committee, a coalition, and mobilize this county so that they could start to work specifically addressing ACEs. And so when we left that meeting, we were all excited about starting our own self-healing communities. And so we began to have conversations, even then with matter experts such as yourselves. And we had some traction happening, but not as much as we wanted to. And so we had to reset. But I am happy today to share with you that we now have a meta leadership coalition called Self-Healing Communities of Greater Michiana. And we feel really fortunate that we're able to share the progress of what we've been able to do. But we couldn't have done it without each of you and your organizations identifying that this was important to the community. And so with that said, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so we want this to be a little engaging for us, and you'll understand why. Self-healing communities is certainly a movement, and it's a movement that aids and supports organizations in ways that we may have not done so before. And so we ask you to think about a question. And so when you came in this morning, there was a handout, and it has a question for you that we'd like you to answer. What challenge are you facing that would be easier to solve if you collaborated with other organizations in your industry and was supported by other industries or different sectors as well? And if you could take the time on that document and jot some things down to answer that question, that would be helpful to us. And hold on to that throughout our presentation. We'll have another opportunity to revisit that document.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, so I'm actually, so today I just wanted to make sure, sometimes we don't get to sounding weird. It sounds weird to me. All right. All right, so we have this slide mainly because just in case we don't get to everything, I just want to touch on all of the points that we hope you walk away with. One is you just heard the foundation about self-healing communities. And then hopefully, whenever you hear about self-healing communities, we're hoping that you'll have some new vocabulary. So GCC is general community capacity. And we want to stress that this is not an organization, it is a movement to build capacity across organizations and across our community. What does the nervous system expect? Thank goodness I have a great colleague and friend, Dr. Nancy Michael, who's in the room. Thank you for all your help. So our nervous system, like us as humans, like our species, we actually expect things. You know how your plants, what do your plants expect to receive from you?
Water.
Water. And if they don't get it, what happens? They give you a sign, right? What's the sign? Will turn brown. I'm new at this whole plant thing. So I'm like, oh, the green is changing. So we as humans, we expect things. And so we, with self-healing communities, we dive into the expectation that we have for one another, kindness, love, generosity, and that is how we help one another heal. What is health? We'll dive into protective factors in you. A big part of self-healing communities is building and increasing protective factors across our region. And then, of course, vocabulary building. So this is the slide. On our YouTube channel, we do have a video that dives into each of these sections. But the one thing I want to stress is that self-healing communities is from the perspective, the foundation is strength-based. Oftentimes when you have very difficult problems or community problems, people tend to focus on the negative, right? And so we really take a strengths-based perspective. I love seeing so many people in the room that I know from different sectors, from work, from also knowing them as parents and grandfathers and friends. And so our intention is really to elevate and celebrate the gifts that we have in our community. And then the other piece I'd like to also point out, again, protective factors. And we have all of this list right here. And ooh, look at me. All right, so this list here, and when I look at it, I just say, not only are you thinking about you being a protective factor, but being intentional that you have these things. A lot of this points to like the care of children, but one thing that Dr. Michael always stresses that, but there really is nothing that says as we become adults, we no longer need all this wonderfulness to grow and thrive. And so again, today we really are focusing on the strengths and then the increase of protective factors. We hope you walk away with that understanding. All right, we could not. So self-healing communities, as you heard, is not a new thing. We do have many states across our nation who's done this. The one thing that is unique to us is that we get to dive into the science really heavily in neurobiological care because of our relationship with the neuroscience and behavior major. I said it right, she smiled. And that partnership allows us to have interns, and we will be sharing all of the wonderful resources that we are developing. Okay.
Okay, so I would like to ask you to join us to watch a video. This video is really great at capturing what we're truly getting at, the essence of what it means to acknowledge all of your assets and capabilities and how you support a community. It's from the Center of Child Development from Harvard University. And so as you watch this video, think about all the ways you help to build core capabilities and in what way that will help our self-healing community.
Building core capabilities for life. Every day we take on the ordinary, sometimes challenging tasks of work, school, parenting, relationships, and just managing our busy lives. How do we navigate these tasks successfully? And what can send us off course? Science offers an explanation. We all need a set of core capabilities that we can develop with practice over time. Scientists call them executive function or self-regulation skills, and they help us to focus on what's important, to plan ahead, set goals, and meet them. They help us deal with whatever life throws at us and still keep heading where we need to go. They help us resist impulsive behaviors.
Stop.
And change course when we need to. No one is born with executive function skills, but everyone can build them. We build them through a lifetime of making connections within and among the regions of the brain. Our brains begin life with billions of neurons, rapidly connecting to each other as we experience the world around us, making trillions of connections in just a few years. Early simple circuits form a foundation that more complex circuits and skills build on as we grow and have new experiences. These complex circuits, built throughout childhood and reaching across vast regions of the brain, make our core capabilities possible. The more we use these connections, the stronger and faster they become. That's why practice is so important. When we are children, we practice these skills by playing games, learning teamwork, adjusting to new rules. We continue to develop these skills in adolescence by managing school and other things like work, sports, music, and relationships. When we practice executive function skills, circuits rapidly connect the prefrontal cortex to other parts of the brain. These circuits act like an air traffic control system in the brain. They manage incoming information and help us respond with intention, not on impulse. Threatening or stressful experiences activate different circuits, and those trigger automatic responses. Fight, flight, or freeze. We need automatic responses for survival, but if stress is constant, these automatic fight or flight circuits become stronger and faster than our more productive intentional circuits, the ones we use for executive function and self-regulation. For anyone under stress, it's hard to call on intentional skills. If we've been experiencing serious stress from our earliest years, the stress caused by poverty, violence, or addiction, a chaotic environment, it's even harder. Under lots of stress every day, it's harder still. The key is counterbalancing those automatic responses by building up our intentional ones, by building strong executive function skills. The good news is these core capabilities can be strengthened. How? By redesigning our systems so they reduce the sources of stress in people's lives, by simplifying how services are provided to families, helping them meet basic needs and building on strengths, because small successes lead to bigger ones. With less stress, we can practice the skills we already have and build new circuits for the intentional responses we need. Stronger brain circuits are built through practice in situations that matter. That's true for children, it's true for adolescents, and it's true for adults. Helping children build skills gives them a strong foundation for all that comes later. Helping teens build their skills propels them into greater success as adults and parents. And helping adult caregivers build their core capabilities ensures success at work, stable homes, and responsive relationships for the next generation. When our communities work together to help children and adults build these skills, we create a positive cycle as one generation passes them on to the next. And that helps us all.
All right, I get excited when I watch that video because it's so inspirational. It makes me think about all of the resources and assets we have right here in our region. And you are all a part of that. One of the other reasons that this excites me is because it really points things back to health, right? When we started having the conversation about adverse childhood experiences and trauma, admittedly, the healthcare system didn't understand. They thought about acute trauma, right? A bad fall, a bad car accident, a violent act. And really, it's all of the unbuffered stress that you saw that could appear here and still impact someone's health. And so we are grateful to the St. Joseph County Health Department for allowing us to borrow this slide today when they asked the question, what is health? And health encompasses many things in terms of your physical, your mental, your spiritual, and your social well-being. This slide does a really great job of breaking that out for us. One of the things that is really helpful for me when I have conversations in the community about health and with our executive leaders at the hospital is I say only 20% of what you do in terms of medical care matters. It's all of the rest of the 80% that truly impacts someone's overall health and wellness. And so we're looking at social economic factors, physical environments, health behaviors, and then even here it mentions that 50% of your health is dependent on where you live, your zip code, right? And so those are important things for us to think about in terms of the resources that we have. And because we're at a mental health summit, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there is no physical health without mental health. That is a known fact from our World Health Organization. All right, so this model here is a model focused on community health from county health rankings. And it is also by the University of Wisconsin, who works very closely with ensuring that we understand as a county where we fit in terms of our health ranking. And so if we look at this model here, we begin at the base when they're looking at policy and programs. So policy and programs influence health factors. And so all of the things here that speak to health behaviors and clinical care, social and economic factors, again, that physical environment piece that influence outcomes, health outcomes. But one of the things that we highlight is that we're not only talking about the length of life or your life expectancy, we're talking about how well you live too, your quality of life. And it's 50-50. And so today, all of you in the room that have influence, it can be impactful. And it doesn't matter if you're part of an organization or coming as an individual, we can all show up. We can all have a stake in the claim in terms of ensuring that we live our best life.
So one of the reasons why we wanted to show this slide, so that when you go to visit, you can see that it is interactive and you can dive into each one of these sections. All right, so vocabulary building. So we have a fantastic book. I'm gonna talk about.
We thought we were gonna be fancy today with the mics, but they're not working for us like we hoped, so bear with us.
So one of our first resources that we created was the Self-Healing Communities Manual. And in here, the purpose of this book is to be able to build vocabulary. So when Google first came out, or Oprah, there were a lot of conversations and commercials around what these words were, right? And so now Google is like, did you Google that? It's an action word. So one of the things with Self-Healing Communities is that when you are starting a new movement, you need people to understand language and vocabulary. So this book focuses on the common language as well as the near science. I've circled a few of the phrases that I just want to stand out. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, well, 1 minute, maybe half a minute to read it for a second. So the two things that I'd like to really stress is that this is about changing the culture. How many of you all have heard things like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or what you complain about? Everybody goes through something, or you got to die from something. All of this kind of dismissive language for the harms that we've endured. And so when we talk about building general community capacity, where it says under the near science background, it says understanding of the power of protective factors and resilience. The next one that I circle says drawing on the power of neuroplasticity. Took me a while to be able to say that. And then there's the necessity of human attachment and individual and community flourishing. When you hear flourishing, isn't something beautiful that comes to mind? At least for me. And to think about a community that is flourishing is so powerful. And so the intention behind, we cannot do this unless all of us see ourselves as strengths in our community. We genuinely, sadly, we cannot do anything about the harms that people have endured. There are so many things that have happened that we can't snatch that away, but we can do two things. One, we can help people understand that the wound that harsh experience or that trauma may have caused you, you can heal. And that's what self-healing communities is about. But we also can say that as we're healing, we can help keep others from having to endure traumas or difficulties that we may have faced. And that's what I think about when I think of us collectively. And the good thing is, we're not the first at this. So we're not talking about something that hasn't already been proven that can have an impact on communities if we all see ourselves as strengths. Even our most difficult challenges, those stories are beautiful, and we want to be intentional to celebrate your resilience, the challenges that your clients or you may have faced, your family members. And so we just love, again, this book. It is available. There's lots of conversation around our resources. Yes, Kimberly.
I was just going to mention, so this is a perfect time right now to revisit your worksheet that you have in front of you. When we're asking you about a challenge, and we're asking you to think about challenges that you are facing right now that would also include and be helpful if you had cross-sector collaboration. So we're going to give you a couple minutes to reflect on your document at this time. All right, thank you. At our question and answer session, I'm gonna call on a couple friends or a few friends in the audience to help me. So I'm gonna ask if Carrie could assist, and Latasha, Nancy, Karina, if you all could assist with collecting, if they hand them down the road, that would be great, during the question and answer session. Wonderful.
All right, so we mentioned protective factors. So this first piece is from one of our books, and I was gonna talk while I held the items at the same time. But I'll talk about it, then I'll go grab some of them. Okay, so this is from where it says, how can I be a protective factor? The section at the end where it says, it's important to remember. It's important to remember that to be able to care for others, we have to also care for ourselves. I think it is for all of us who are helpers and carers in the community, caregivers, oftentimes we tend to neglect our own care. So we want to encourage you to remember that the more that you care for yourself, the more you're able to care for others. And can you just hold up the back? No. Can you all hear me if I talk super loud?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that page is actually from our Brain Health for Primary Caregivers book. And this was in partnership with St. Margaret's House. So they, when you see any resources, going back to us saying about, we are all about capacity building. When you have any of our resources, you can have the confidence that it has been vetted, it is deeply accurate with the neuroscience. You hear a lot of people right now talking about the brain, talking about neuroscience, but oftentimes it is not true to the science of it. It has a lot of people's opinions in it. So if you have these resources and you want to teach from this, create programming, all of our resources are intended for you to be able to use it as a manual to support the work that you're doing, whether it's in therapy or program development. The second piece up there, so we are going to have a whole suite of materials. And I love that this is led by neuroscience students. And one of the creators of a lot of these resources up here is in the room, and I can't help but smile that she gets to see her dedication to this work impacting the community. So we are going to have a suite of resources around brain care is self-care. Just because we've heard the words resilience, self-care, and people have began to make money off of it, don't get desensitized to the impact of the words. It is steeped in science. And so the first resource we had is this two-sided postcards that you can give out. Eventually, we will have them available. I have a few here today, and we ask people that they're great conversation pieces. When I was going through 2022, the start was rough for me. And I literally just kept this by my bed and read all 6 in the morning and at night and said, girl, where are you needing to focus on? What are you missing out on? Just keeping myself accountable to what I know is good for my well-being. The second piece, remember I said this will be a suite. The second one is for every one of these points up here, we have a book that we are putting out that right now we're finding the printer that we like because the one we had changed their paper source. And so, but for every one that's up there, you have 2 pages of science supporting it. Then we're gonna have conversation cards. So if you have in all types of games, just have some fun. Talk about the science behind care for yourself, right? And then we'll have like the old school matching memory, you know, where you have to match the pieces, turn over the card. So we're developing that. And when I say we, I'm just the encourager and the supporter of all of our neuroscience interns. Okay, and then if you want to share those two words.
So Amani Unadad, we have someone from Amani Unadad here. Ryan is in the house. He is a strong partner with Jeffrey Stanley that has worked with Dr. Michael for many years. And they had the opportunity to focus on what it means to really care for your brain. We say Ubuntu, and I believe there might be a gentleman in the room that could give us the correct verbiage around that. But it really is caring for your brain, understanding the effects of trauma on your brain and how to heal. And so the document that they created focuses on understanding neuroscience and brain structure, the social brain and what attachment is. It focuses on the neuroscience of trauma and confronting trauma, ACEs, and then healing through mindfulness. And it goes to different activities such as morning meditation, midday break, and nighttime meditation. And so all of these wonderful resources embedded in this book here is for the individuals that they are serving at Amani Unadad. It's a wonderful resource, so much so that they made a companion piece with it. And it's called Wisdom for the Room. And they themselves will talk about all the time how we are experts in our own right. Regardless of the education you have, your credentials, any certification, we all have unique experiences and can be leaders. And so the individuals that they are serving at Amani Unadad were able to come up with wisdom based on their lived experiences. And it is all with the mindset and infused with the neuroscience behind it. It is a wonderful resource of affirmations. Again, and it can be applied in any sector, in any business. And so again, resources is what Self-Healing Communities is all about, wanting to ensure that we are supporting you, supporting your participants, your patients, your clients,
Your family.
you, right? We talk about self-care being very important.
One of the first big books that we put out, and on our YouTube channel, you do have our kickoff for this release of this book, which is No Snow Day for the Brain. The first part of it is a children's book. The second part is for the grown-ups or the young people who want to be future neuroscience. And then we have a companion book, a coloring book. I was at an event the other day at Transformation Ministries, and there was one of the young people brought their son, and it was so cool that they pulled this out, and he was coloring. Then some of the adults in the room, the young adults, started wanting to color the sheets and talking about the brain, so that was exciting. And one of the last ones, I know we're wrapping up, is I want to shout out our wonderful library system. Partner with us in a beautiful way. They wrote their own grant to dive into self-healing communities. And we spent 10 months together every other week training and talking with the programming staff, and for the responsibility of them then pouring everything that they learned into programming. And so you will see now more intentionally programs and activities that tie to self-healing community. When you see this logo, again, it's not a representation of an organization. It's a representation of a movement. So when you see self-healing communities on a flyer or on a book, that lets you know they're aware of trauma and the care and the science underneath whatever that is all about healing. So we did all right? Okay, so we have about 1 minute if there's one quick question, and then we're also gonna ask you to pass your sheets down to the end. Anyone have a question? Yes. So we are working on that. We have a developing partnership with the language department. I don't know if it's a major department at Notre Dame, and we're starting to get our things translated. The first one is this, the book, which is, you know, it's an idiom, no snow day for the rain. So there is an interesting translation that we're working on with that. And then the next one is this card. So if you have your sheet and you want to volunteer to help us with translation, that is the first language that we are hoping to focus on. Okay, so thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much to Kimberly and Velshonna. We appreciate the two of you and the leadership. Okay, so we have a 10-minute break, and this room is going to be used for the Youth Initiatives panel, and the second floor, Buter Kernan Hall, I think is the name of it, is on the second floor. That will be where the Adult Initiatives panel is meeting. So feel free to go back into the ballroom, get some food, visit some of the resource tables, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes. So thank you.